you haven't been back here since you lived here.
That's right.
When you look at this place, what are you feeling right now?
A homecoming of sorts, definitely. I've tried really hard not to put this in the rearview mirror. I've tried to keep it present, just in terms of the work that I do, making sure that my perspective is never too far removed from this. The hardest thing in the world is to be giving something your all, and it's not good enough. And that's what I was experiencing when I was living here. I was giving it my all, working 2 jobs and doing the best I could. But this was the place that I came home to with the phone not working from time to time, or the lights not working from time to time.
Maria spent time with Texas State Senator and gubernatorial candidate Wendy Davis for a piece that's set to air on Wednesday morning on The Today Show. Davis has an incredible personal story that took her from teen motherhood and the mobile home park you just saw to Harvard Law School, Texas Senate, and perhaps beyond. But for women facing poverty, Wendy Davis's story is the exception, not the rule. Joining us now is Shanita Simon Toussaint, a shift supervisor at KFC, Melissa Del Valle Ortiz, a board member of the National Alliance for HUD Tenants, and Mariana Chilton, an associate professor of public health at Drexel University and the founder of Witness to Hunger. Shanita, it's great to have you back at this table.
Hi, nice to see you again.
Okay, so I think a lot of us feel, you know, when we look at the story of Wendy Davis, the story of other people that have this classic American dream story, they're toiling, you know, for low wages, and they end up bettering themselves, and they have this big success. When you think about that trajectory and you look at your life, what are the obstacles from here to there for you?
The obstacles for me is I don't want to be on food stamps. I don't want to be on welfare. That is not my goal. That is not my hopes and dreams. That's not what I want to teach my kids. I want to teach my kids that, you know, at the end of the day, nobody's going to give you nothing for free. You got to get up and work for it. But I am getting up and work for it. So what do I get in return? I get the bare minimum. So my obstacles in front of me is, you know, simple things like feeding my kids. Since I last saw you, I actually got approved for food stamps. So thank God for that. But what do I do from there? You know, what help is provided? You know, what programs are out there? You know, there needs to be some kind of website or some kind of, you know, person on the street with a picket fence saying, we're here to help you. You know, when are we going to get that? So definitely my obstacles in front of me it's just a struggle, constant struggle.
There's so many misconceptions about women working, I mean, living on the brink. These are women that you were just saying, they don't want to be there. They have dreams. They want to work. They are working. If you had a moment to talk to the president, if you had a moment to talk to Senate leaders and congressional leaders, what would you tell them that they could do now that would make a difference in your life?
Wow, more than anything, I think that they should absolutely restore the budget, the full budget for affordable housing, for subsidized housing. I think it's really, really critical across the United States. You don't understand how these families are struggling. And the one thing that you need above all else is a place to stay. That's your source. That's what grounds you and allows you to go look for work, put your kids to school, decide where you're going to vote, things like that. All those things are so critical. So the most important thing for any family, especially struggling families, right, is a place to live.
Yes.
And obviously a job and a living wage. So many people have this idea that government programs aren't helping people on the brink, and they're just don't need them.
Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. I'll tell you about the food stamp program, or SNAP. The food stamp program, we know through our research with Children's Health Watch, which is a multi-site study that looks at 60,000 families across the country, we know that food stamps actually prevents hospitalizations for young children. We also know that the WIC program, which is the Women, Infants, and Children program, is a nutrition program for pregnant moms and very young children. We know that that promotes child development. So we have really beautiful programs that are helping to buffer families through hard times, and that we know that actually reduce healthcare costs and promote health.
So when people say there's been this explosion in food stamp usage since the financial crisis in 2008, and this is some sign of something broken, or a lot of Americans suddenly decided to get super lazy, what do you say? How do you explain the fact that we now have so many more people on this program?
The increase in food stamp participation is actually an example of our public assistance programs actually working. When the economy goes down and people lose their jobs, then they're more eligible for food stamps. So the food stamp program has been extremely responsive, thankfully, during the economic downturn, and as now more jobs are coming into the mainstream, food stamp participation will go down.
There is a lot that government could do to modernize. You were saying there should be some help out there to modernize the programs that do exist. So people spend so much time trying to find housing, trying to sign up for programs, trying to go over here and get another program for your child. What do you think would make a big difference? She said it's housing. What for you would make the difference tomorrow to help you get going?
Well, I think it's not only housing. For example, there used to be so many programs out there like ACS preventive programs, programs out there that say, okay, well, I see you struggling with your children, or I see you struggling to feed your children or clothe your children, or simply, shelter over, your children's heads. Right now, I'm living with my mom because I can't afford to live on my own. I'm married with 3 children, raising my own family under my mom's household. Simple things like that, programs that would say, I'm here to help you with clothes, food, simple things, the necessities.
Can I ask you a question, Sheena? There's been this conversation about marriage and poverty and the relationship between them. And I met your husband and your kids last time you were in here. And there is this idea, like, single women out there, if you got married, that's the way out of poverty.
No.
What do you want to say to that?
Getting married, me and my husband jokes about it all the time. Getting married was such an economical downturn. It's like simple filing taxes, is more expensive. Eating, clothing, shelter, it's more expensive because that's just another body, that's another add-on. Getting involved with this movement has really changed my life because it gave me the courage to actually file again, because the first time they actually closed my case and say, okay, well, you get paid too much money. The movement actually said, no, you deserve better.
And you're talking about the workers that you've been working with in the fight for a higher wage.
Our polling showed that the polling in the Shriver report said that really the government should support families the way they are now. And there's a difference often, I think, to shame women who are not in marriages and who have left them because they were abusive or they didn't work isn't really the answer.
Why do you think that affordable housing why does it get left behind? We've seen a succession of cuts to them through the years.
I understand where the government is coming from. There's fraud, there's this, there's that, but there's a huge base of residents that live there. In my community alone, we have only 400 units of housing left in Sunset Park in Brooklyn.
In all of the neighborhood?
For all of the neighborhood,
for
and not
housing.
for a long ways again, not for another ways again. And so it's very important in our community where people are living there and have been there for a long time that they continue to stay.
I think it highlights the fact that right now we also have a mismatch in the way the economy works in terms of where jobs are created and where affordable homes are made. And sometimes engines of job creation lead to places that are expensive. You have people paying 40, 50% of their income to rent. Shanita Simon Toussaint, Melissa Del Valle Ortiz, and Mariana Chilton, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up in the 50-year war, we have a rare chance tonight to talk to some people who are in a position to push through concrete solutions to recommit to the war on poverty.